right, welcome to another episode. Let's talk about it. My name's Jaquise.
Julia.
EJ.
Today we're going to talk about the WNBA and why isn't it more popular. I think as far as the WNBA goes, I think one of the things that kind of hurt them is the social media aspect. I mean, we live in a 2020 day and age now where everything is in social media. Like, you see the highlights, you know the players, all from, interacting with social media. They don't have a House of Highlights type of page or Bleacher Report. These are highlight pages that got millions of followers that people check on the daily. And most of their context is centered to the NBA. So I think if the WNBA had their own page where, you could show the highlights, so you know the nice people they got in the league. So you know about the Tina Charles, how you know about Sabrina, how you know about Candace Parker, Skylar Diggins. If you've seen any highlights and that was shown around and spread around, I think that definitely helped them from the social media aspect. I mean, that's what I would say with it.
Before the camera was on, you mentioned the word visibility. So WNBA has 12 teams, which means it's how many states in the U.S.? So many areas are not really accessible. They show, ESPN in 2019, they showed 16 games. So there's no Philadelphia team. You live in Philly, you might be able to catch a few of those games.
Yeah.
So if you don't really have the visibility spread out across this country, you got to use that platform, social media, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. You got to expand that way, and somebody has to be transcendent. So,
Yep. Jumping on that topic about what you just said, when the WNBA was first formed, I knew when every game was on. I mean, the advertising was crazy, you know what I mean? I knew what channel,
that's right.
But now it's like, I couldn't tell you when the game is on or what channel it's on, If I end up watching, the marketing is bad. If I end up watching the game, it's only because I was flipping channels and I happened to come across it, compared to back in the day when I knew everything and who was playing and all that.
Well, I think they just struck a new deal with CBS. So now, a lot more of their games will be broadcasted, so they'll get more televised games now.
That's what they need.
So that definitely helped already with their some of their ratings. So
also I think the players themselves need to stand out. Show your personality, show who you are.
Oh yeah, social media, back to social media,
and social media, they need a Rodman in the bunch, they need a bad girl, somebody to bring attention to the league, you need that person that you don't like, that villain, that villain always brings attention.
Well, even in the small aspect, remember KD went to the Rutgers and dropped 60? Even back in the day, you'll have some of the NBA players, Kobe showing up to the Rutgers, showing up places, just frying people.
Yeah.
And them videos circulate. Imagine a girl go down to the Rutgers or somewhere and she drops 60 on the guys.
Right.
That video going everywhere.
Right.
And you instantly gonna know her name. I'm not saying they gotta do this, but if you're talking about just marketing yourself, I mean, just going down there and hooping and just, putting yourself out there.
Invisible.
Yeah, that might open up brands to seeing you because this video is mad popular. I think if they do, like you were saying, they show more of their personality.
Right.
Let us know, more about them because we don't see them unless we don't really see them.
Right.
That could be on us. Maybe we're not looking for them, but sometimes videos just come across your screen.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I think if they show more of that, that would help.
Right. I have a question for both of y'all. Do y'all think the NBA players, do you think they need to do more as far as help promoting or putting
I think they do somewhat, and I think they can, but I don't think it's a need. I mean, I don't think they should, rather. I think they can do more, but I don't think it should be I think it's on the organization to really implement that more than the player, the player themselves, because it might not be in their head, because they do, they might feel that they are doing a good job,
right.
Whereas the organization might be well, what if we do this event with a player from here, but that's something that maybe if the organization was more hands-on.
Okay. My personal thing, I don't think it matters because even when you break it down to when you look at some of the reasons people say WNBA isn't popular, it's things that a player can't fix, an NBA player can't fix for them. Talking about all they do is layups and it's boring and things like that. if an NBA player say, "Yo, check this girl out, she's nice," I just feel like some of these people are just stuck in their ways on how they view them. So like if they say that, I don't think it will travel that much further. I think it has to be like a conditioning. It won't take time for that conditioning to be there. Because I mean, even I was looking, and they did a survey. It was like 2,200 people was the sample size, but this website Statistica did a survey, and they was talking about the WNBA, and they said as far as men go, 17% of men are casual fans, 6% are avid fans, 77% are not interested at all, and then for females, 12% was casual, 4% was an avid fan, and 84% aren't interested at all. So I think for the WNBA to hit that, they need to get more women interested in that sport.
Sure.
So I don't know. So if you're talking about for the women perspective, they need to find a way to market to women and help show that. I mean, even if I think a shoe deal will help. Yes. No WNBA players got a signature shoe.
Advertising.
It's groundwork, man. Yeah. Right? I think if you don't get stuck on where the NBA is now, because random example, but Jay-Z was right here. Mm-hmm. He bring out Bleak. Bleak wasn't up there. You gotta look at Jay-Z's groundwork. Right. So like with basketball, you can't look at the NBA and be like, all right, well, we're partnership with the NBA, so we should be up here. Right. You gotta look at the groundwork. Right. The Bulls' attendance was terrible the year Jordan came, got shoe deal, all of that. Then the groundwork, Gatorade. People weren't doing Gatorade commercials and Michael Jackson videos and Spike Lee, promos, commercial stuff like. You gotta look at the groundwork, but that was the 80s. Mm-hmm. So there's groundwork that can be done now that's more progressive. They need something transcendent. So B. Dot, right? He like a comedian on social media, mimics the players, whatever. How many followers you think he got on Instagram? 1.7 million. Yeah. Right? One of the transcendent players that I feel like can be there for WNBA, Skylar Diggins. She has 1 million. Yeah. So he's not a player in the league. He has 1.7. She has 1. The next one I think that's transcendent, Candace Parker. She has 600,000 followers. So it's like even the most transcendent players in the WNBA aren't reaching, a big mass of people. So it's like it needs to be a bigger effort, and as opposed to just a couple hands on.
Right, that's what brings me back to. That's why I think they should show who they are, not just in basketball, outside of basketball. Like if you are a player that can rap, rap. I mean, getting some videos, show it on your page. You know what I mean? If you're a player with any type of other skill that you think people will be interested in, just to bring the fans to you, especially the youth. You know what I mean? That will help, right? Because like I remember. Like when I used to watch it, like Cheryl Swoosh was the first female athlete to get a sneaker.
It was fire.
Shoe. And,
it was fire.
You know what I mean? First 5 years, you had you had Lisa Leslie with the Sparks, Cheryl Miller.
Like you had those people there. Right. So I think that helps. I think one thing that hurts them is the lack of international impact. Like I don't want to compare them to the NBA because I think that's where we go wrong, and that's why a lot of people say negative things about them. But when you talk about like the WNBA, they literally only have 16 players in 2019 that was international. And WNBA just needs to be global. I think if they can find, if they can grab more players, attract more overseas players, that can at least bring at least those viewers over there. So I mean, I think that would be definitely a good way to help.
Also, progressive is, like you said, highlight other stuff that they do. So make a big deal out of it in the positive way. So had several players who took years off to have children. That's a good thing. Like highlight that. Like don't shy away from it. Don't.
Skylar Diggins played pregnant.
Maya Moore took a year off to help get somebody.
Jonathan Irons.
I like highlight that.
Right.
Seriously, because this is who some of them are, and that's a step. Like, there's fans everywhere and different. Like, it's a way to catch somebody's eye in every avenue. Anytime you can see, I would look it up, but Aisha Curry is super visible, right? She has shows on cooking channels. She's been on Rachel Ray's show. She's been on, like, she getting in there and getting. I think there's WNBA players that could do the same thing on a even crazier level, as far as marketability. And I think that's just where it starts, is like, you know, being more visible. Cause there's people that could become fans that haven't really seen it. Like, there's people that I'm thinking in my head, like, I wonder if they like it. And I'm like, we probably never seen it, like, not in a bad way, just probably never, like, they might not turn to ESPN for it. But I was telling Queese before we got on, I was like, back in the 90s, when I ain't have cable all the time, on Saturday I watched Inside Stuff on NBC.
Yeah, I remember that show.
There was shows during the week that would come on, like NBA Tonight or NBA something else that draws you to it. So there's things like, you need to try to grab fans who aren't just necessarily already NBA fans.
Right. Yeah, that's true. And then I think what's gonna help them big is the CBA, the new CBA.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because I think you know, they get more money, which the commissioner said she feel like now that we're paying them more, they might try to market the league more.
Sure.
So I think that's their psyche. I think they see some of the players are not marketing the league anymore. They have to go overseas and get more money. Maybe if you pay them more, you get more. You know, maybe they might try to market the league more, do some extra things. They also get maternity leave now.
Right.
So you don't have people sit, you know, you don't have them sacrificing so much.
Right.
I'm saying they messing with their mental when you telling them they don't get the maternity leave, they gotta sit out a whole year.
Right.
Like,
like
come on, man. Like, and so you got that for them. You got the travel arrangements improving. Why is Brittany Griner 6'8" sitting in regular seats next to the people in the middle of the aisle?
That's gotta change.
Like, come on, man. Like, that's not. Even for the development league, like, come on, man.
But like you said, in the NBA, in the 80s, they were doing that. They were, you know, and look how long the NBA been around, you know.
That's a good point.
So they were doing that.
Right. So you got, so now, I think now though, because it was the 80s, that time period, for that time period, now it's 2020.
Right.
Like, nobody should be like this in 2020 now.
Right.
Like, and then you got them now, what was hurting them is the revenue split. They was only getting 20% of the revenue.
22. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's crazy. That's like, so now they have the potential now to get a 50-50. So now happier players, happier league.
Definitely.
Even Adam Silver said it, that only 4% of media covers like women's sports. Like, and then only less than 1% of corporate sponsorship dollars globally go to women's sports. Like, they're not even getting the back end.
Right.
They're not getting the coverage. That's why I said it's gonna take somebody, you know, to kind of help them get that coverage. Where a lot of things organically happen on social media, where you don't need a huge backing from a corporation to make it pop.
But some things you gotta have
So
on the flip side, you also should have like a task force of like people trying to get out there. Like, yo, we need a Nike merch deal for Women's Month WNBA t-shirts for March every year.
Yeah.
Every year.
Yeah.
Like something like, you know, proactive, and that's things that where it's like nobody should put pressure on the NBA to do it, but if they should feel it and like, yo, all right, which they are doing. I feel like they are like they do feel the pressure and they're starting to like everybody showing up to it's a small thing, but everybody showing up with the orange hoodies. I think that was dope.
Yeah,
I think that was dope, but more of it. Like, keep coming. Any ideas that anybody has? I worked in retail apparel 13 years.
Right.
Have never seen a single. Now, granted, we don't have a WNBA team in my area, but a WNBA Women's Month shirt.
Yeah.
The whole store would buy it for Women's Month because we have times where we wear the ribbons for breast cancer, like we all buy those. Or listen, WNBA breast cancer, you know, ribbon mask. We need all the progressive ideas.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, just a bunch of it, a flurry of it to, you know, get the people thinking and to just tune into it.
Right. Yeah. I think people who talk about WNBA, they always talk about how their lack of revenue and how they haven't made a profit since they started. But like I said, when you tackle these other issues around it, that's how you fix it. Like, you just bringing up that they kept losing money. All right.
So what's
There's development league. You know what I'm saying? Like,
what's your plan?
Yeah. Now you have a plan above it. So I think the things that we listed, or at least we talked about, will help. Get them an IG page. They market themselves a little bit more on social media. a shoe deal, like maybe I think they all go inside together. I think if you had
mentioned before that Sabrina, who get well Sabrina.
Yeah, she had with a grade 3 ankle sprain.
You had mentioned that she's like possibly in talks. You know, she got to decide, you know, which brand she would go with.
Yeah, before the draft, she was talking with shoe. Yeah.
What if they made it ain't gotta be reality TV, but a social media or YouTube week to week thing, or you know, a small series where she's deciding like, you know, on what brand. Now, you film it, and you find out which one she picks, and then you chop it up to where, you know, she's headed to the meet and like how she's going to decide, like, you know, some background to it, so we can get the behind the scenes.
Do you know?
And I guess the NBA should be the catalyst for it, but I don't think you should ever, because most of them are going to be for it. Just you don't want to say what somebody should be doing. You kind of pose it to where it's like, look, you know, bring us along with y'all, but don't say, you know, I want that, but you know what I mean? Like, pose it in a way to where it's bring us along, which I think they should be the catalyst for it, because they got a lot of ideas and a lot of progression happened under David Stern, and Adam Silver was his right hand, so he knows better than anybody how to, you know.
I think everybody laid out some, you know, great ways, you know, WNBA kind of, because they're gonna keep progressing. Like I said, they're gonna keep growing every year. Once you stop focusing on the negative and comparing them to the NBA, that's where you go down a rabbit hole where instead of looking at the progression they have made, you start, you know, looking at other stuff that don't matter. So this is what we think about it. You know, why we, you know, how that WNBA can become more popular, and that's kind of what we got on it. I mean, anybody else got anything? Any final closure?
I got a final closure. It's not serious though. We need a Stephen A. Smith for the WNBA.
Yo, that would be
Stephen A. Smith or Skip Bayless. That's like,
that would be dope.
Listen, no.
That'd be dope.
Skylar Diggins. You gotta, like, we need. That would be funny. They don't need it, but that would be funny if it's somebody that's really, like, you know, not negative. I'm talking about holding them to the fire as far as on the court.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
That'd be dope.
Yeah, well, now y'all tune in. Another episode. Let's talk about it. Peace.